sterile white walls of the Galactic Institute of Mental Health hummed with suppressed energy, the air thick with the ozone tang of holographic projectors. Dr. Elias Carter tugged at the collar of his Federation-issued uniform, the stiff fabric chafing against his neck. His leather jacket, worn thin at the elbows from decades of wear, hung over the back of his chair, the only splash of color in the clinical observation chamber. Floating above the central console, neural maps of various species pulsed in rhythmic, soothing patterns. The Zephyrian brain's scans glowed a serene blue, their synaptic pathways flowing like gentle rivers. The Vorak displays flickered with orderly precision, each neural impulse measured and predictable. Then there was the human sample, a chaotic storm of red and gold, synapses firing like fireworks in a hurricane. Director Vexlora's 4 eyes tracked the display, her cephalopod, like skin rippling with bioluminescent streaks of unease. "The data is conclusive, Dr. Carter," she said. Her voice a melodic warble. Human neural activity during conflict scenarios exceeds all known parameters for rational behavior. Elias leaned forward, squinting at the hologram. "That's not insanity, that's focus." Junior analyst Kretok skittered closer, his insectoid limbs twitching. "Your species exhibits zero fear response when faced with lethal threats," he said, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Instead, your brain chemistry suggests euphoria." A chuckle escaped Elias before he could stop it. "Yeah, we call that adrenaline. It's kinda useful when something's trying to eat you." Vexlora's tentacles stiffened. "This is no laughing matter. We've analyzed 5 centuries of human history. Your wars, your art, your entertainment. The same pattern repeats. Conflict triggers neural hyperactivity. Pleasure centers activate, and decision-making becomes." She hesitated. "Creative," Elias offered. "Reckless," Kretok interjected. "You enjoy it." Outside the massive viewport, Earth rotated slowly, its blue oceans and swirling clouds a stark contrast to the cold metallic precision of the station. Elias watched a storm system swirl over the Atlantic, remembering the hurricane head flown through as a young medic. The way his hands had steadied when the plane bucked, the strange calm in his chest. "You're missing the point," he said, turning back to them. "It's not about enjoying danger, it's about mastering it." Vexlora manipulated a control, and the hologram shifted to a playback of the siege of Proxima III. Human Marines holding a collapsing bunker, outnumbered 10-1, their biometrics flashed on screen, heart rate steady, cortisol levels dropping, dopamine spiking. One soldier laughed as he reloaded. "This is what concerns us," Vexlora said softly. "Other species retreat or surrender when survival odds plummet. Humans escalate." Elias crossed his arms. "And that's a problem because it's unnatural," Kretok blurted, his exoskeleton vibrating. "The Federation has maintained peace for millennia by adhering to predictable, rational behavior. Your species is a statistical anomaly, a dangerous one." A silence settled over the chamber. Elias studied the Zephyrian's glowing stress patterns, the way her pupils dilated when she looked at the human neural scans. Not just scientific curiosity there, fear. "So what's the verdict, Doc?" he asked, already knowing the answer. Vexlora straightened, her bioluminescence shifting to formal violet. "After unanimous review, the Institute classifies humanity as suffering from collective insanity spectrum disorder, a condition requiring intervention." Elias barked a laugh. "Let me guess, medication, behavioral conditioning, preventative measures," Kretok corrected, "for the safety of the galaxy." Elias stood, grabbing his jacket. The leather creaked as he shrugged it on. "You're making a mistake." Vexlora's tentacles twitched. "The data is irrefutable, Dr. Carter." "Yeah, well, data doesn't win wars." He paused at the door, glancing back at Earth. "And it sure as hell doesn't save anyone." The door hissed shut behind him, leaving the aliens to their glowing screens and orderly graphs. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. Elias cracked his knuckles, smiling faintly. They'd learn the hard way. The Federation Council chambers buzzed with uneasy energy as Ambassador Lyra Voss strode through the arched entrance. 100 alien eyes tracked her movement, their owners whispering in hushed clicks and trills. The circular amphitheater stretched upward in tiers, each level packed with delegates from species who'd mastered interstellar travel before humans discovered fire. Lyra's polished boots clicked against the obsidian floor as she made her way to the human delegation's modest station, a single desk dwarfed by the crystalline podiums of the major powers. High Chancellor Goran's massive form dominated the central platform, his crystalline skin pulsing slow amber waves of displeasure. When he raised a four-fingered hand, the chamber fell silent. The findings are undeniable. His voice boomed through the chamber's acoustics. A holographic projection flickered to life above him, showing two neural scans side by side, one calm and rhythmic, the other a frenetic storm of activity. Human brains exhibit pathological responses to conflict. This isn't aggression, this is disease. Lyra sipped her black coffee, the cup's heat biting through her gloves. She'd read the Institute's report on the shuttle ride over 500 years of human history, reduced to clinical terms: aberrant dopamine response, collective trauma reinforcement, persistent warfare fixation. The coffee's bitterness matched her smile. Fleet Admiral Zelnara clicked forward on her chitinous legs, scarred exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. The Vorak consensus supports immediate intervention, she rasped. Unchecked human aggression destabilizes entire sectors. The Keswick incursion proved this. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Lyra watched the voting indicators on her desk blink from blue to amber across dozens of species sigils. She set down her cup with deliberate slowness. Ambassador Voss. Goran's voice carried the weight of tectonic plates shifting. Does EarthGov dispute these findings? Lyra straightened her jacket sleeves. Oh, we're definitely insane by your metrics. A few startled chirps came from the avian delegates. But let's examine your proposed solution. She tapped her tablet, and the hologram switched to show a molecular structure rotating above the assembly. Psychotropic suppressants in our water supply. To make us what? Nicer. Junior analyst Kretok skittered forward from the observation tier, his mandibles working nervously. The compounds are harmless, proven to reduce interspecies conflict in the Galax clusters by turning warriors into docile farmers. Lyra finished. She zoomed the hologram to show a Galaxian before and after, the once proud hunter's crest now limp, his eyes dull. You want to lobotomize an entire species. Goran's crystals flared crimson. We seek to heal. A new voice cut through the chamber's tension. Ambassador Tvek of the Zeperian Science Directorate, his four eyes blinking in sequence. Consider the alternative. Unregulated human expansion already strains Federation resources. Your wars consume more antimatter than your entire colony world's energy budgets. Lyra's smile didn't reach her eyes. We recycle our wreckage. Do you know what percentage of a human warship gets reclaimed after battle? She didn't wait for an answer. 93%. We even repurpose the blood. The chamber erupted. Goran's fist came down on his podium with a crack that silenced the room. Enough. The vote proceeds. Holographic tally markers appeared above each delegation, all in favor of Resolution Phi human psychotropic integration. Lyra watched the lights turn green. One by one, the Arcturans, the Vorak, the Zeperians, even the usually neutral Celestials. Her fingers tightened around the coffee cup. When the final vote registered, Phi approval, Goran's crystals pulsed triumphant gold. The measure passes. Earth's water treatment facilities will receive Federation upgrades within the standard cycle. Lyra set down her cup and stood. Every eye followed her as she smoothed her uniform. You're making a mistake. Zelnara's mandibles clacked in derision. Your bravado is noted human. No. Lyra met each alien gaze in turn. You misunderstand. I'm not threatening you. I'm warning you. She tapped her tablet again, and the hologram shifted to show Earth's defense grid, thousands of red dots flaring to life across the planet's surface. That is our water purification network. Each node is hardened against orbital strikes. Each has enough firepower to glass a city. Her smile turned predatory. Try to medicate us. See what happens. The chamber went utterly still. Even Goran's crystals froze mid-pulse. Lyra gathered her datapads. You'll miss us when we're gone. She turned on her heel and walked out, her footsteps echoing in the dead silence. Behind her, the coffee cup she'd left behind began to vibrate, then shattered in a burst of ceramic and steam. In the observation tier, junior analyst Kretok's mandibles trembled. Did she just... Fleet Admiral Zelnara stared at the steaming debris. That was no thermal vessel. Her voice carried the barest tremor. The human overheated the molecules with her grip. Goran's crystals darkened to the color of dried blood. Dispatch the science teams. I want every human physiological study reviewed again. He watched Lyra's retreating back through the closing doors. And someone tell the Institute their diagnosis may have been incomplete. The bridge of the USN Defiance hummed with quiet efficiency, its reinforced bulkheads vibrating slightly from the ship's massive engines. Captain Ryan Blake leaned back in his command chair, his cybernetic left eye flickering as it processed targeting data from the Keswick expanse. The faint scent of coffee and ozone hung in the air, mixing with the occasional beep of consoles. Lieutenant Mara Singh's fingers danced across her tactical display, her dark eyes scanning the holographic readouts. All systems nominal, Captain. Patrol routes clear for another 3 light. Years, Blake grunted, scratching the stubble on his chin, boring as hell. Behind them, Commander Tech shifted uncomfortably in his observer's seat. The Zephyrian's 4 eyes blinked in alternating patterns, his bioluminescent skin pulsing a nervous blue. This is adequate, he said, his voice a wet rasp. Predictability ensures safety. Blake smirked. Yeah, well, predictable gets you dead where I come from. A sudden alarm blared through the bridge, red emergency lights washing over the crew. Singh's hands flew across her console. Distress call, Captain. Civilian convoy under attack. Vorak raiders. 6 ships. Heavy weapon signatures. Tevek's skin flashed a panicked violet. We must alert Federation Command. The Defiance is outnumbered. Protocol dictates we wait for reinforcements. Blake didn't even look at him. Helm, plot, intercept course, maximum burn. The Defiance's engines roared as the ship lurched forward, inertial dampeners straining. Tavek gripped his seat, his tentacles writhing. This is madness. The Vorak will tear us apart. Singh grinned, fingers already priming weapons. Nah, we're just the opening act. The tactical display lit up as the Defiance dropped out of warp, the chaotic ballet of battle unfolding before them. Vorak raiders, jagged, insectoid ships with plasma cannons glowing, swarmed a cluster of unarmed freighters. One civilian vessel already listed, its hull cracked open like an egg. Blake cracked his knuckles. Singh, give him something to think about. The Defiance's railguns thundered, tungsten slugs ripping through the lead raider's shields. The Vorak ship spun wildly, venting atmosphere. The remaining raiders turned, their formations tightening. Tevek's voice trembled. They're targeting us. Good, Blake said. Means they're not shooting civilians. He tapped his comm. Engineering divert all non-essential power to forward shields and prep the surprise. A gruff voice crackled back. Aye, Captain, surprise is hot. The Defiance charged headlong into the raider formation, its shields flaring under concentrated fire. Warning klaxons wailed as the ship shuddered. Singh's console spat sparks. Shields at Faye. Blake's grin didn't waver. Right on schedule, Helm. Execute Crazy Ivan. The Defiance suddenly cut its engines, spinning Faye degrees while still sliding forward on momentum. The raiders overshot, their weapons firing harmlessly into empty space. Tavek made a sound like a drowning squid. What are you doing? Giving Em a show, Blake said. The Defiance's ventral bay doors snapped open, releasing a swarm of unguided mining charges, each rigged with a proximity fuse. The raiders, caught mid-turn, flew straight into the cloud. The explosions lit up the void. 2 raiders disintegrated instantly. A third spun out of control, its engines dead. The remaining 3 broke formation, their commanders clearly rattled. Singh whooped, "That's 3 down." Blake leaned forward. "Now we run." Tevek's eyes bulged. "Run." The Defiance's engines flared again. The ship streaking away from the battle at full throttle. The raiders pursued, plasma fire streaking past the hull. Singh watched the distance tick down on her display. "They're gaining." Blake nodded. "Right on time engineering now." The Defiance's shields suddenly overloaded, releasing a pulse of energy that fried the pursuing raiders' targeting systems. One raider collided with another in the confusion. The last veered off, its weapons dark. Silence settled over the bridge. Tevek stared at the tactical display, his bioluminescence flickering erratically. Then, with a wet retch, he vomited fluorescent blue fluid onto the deck. Blake sighed. "Samon, get the mop." Singh wiped sweat from her brow, grinning. "Standard Tuesday, Captain." Outside the viewport, the surviving freighters ignited their engines, limping toward safety. One of them hailed the Defiance, the civilian captain's voice trembling with gratitude. "We owe you our lives," Blake shrugged. "Just doing our job." Tech finally found his voice, though it was hoarse. That was not protocol, that was not sane. Blake turned his chair, fixing the Superior with a look. "Commander, you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means." The bridge crew burst into laughter. Somewhere in the depths of the ship, heavy metal started blasting over the intercom. Tech covered his ears and whimpered. The Vorak throne room smelled of damp chitin and defeat. Overlord Kartsik slumped on his obsidian dais, his once gleaming exoskeleton now dull and cracked. The warriors lining the walls didn't stand at attention. They leaned against the stone, their claws limp, their antennae drooping. Dr. Elias Carter sat cross-legged on the floor, chewing a ration bar. The Vorak had dragged him here after the Defiance's battle, convinced human insanity was a biological weapon. Now, they just looked at him like he held the answer to a question they were too afraid to ask. "You're losing," Carter said, brushing crumbs off his jacket. "Not to our guns, to our songs." Kurtzik's mandibles twitched. "Your warriors broadcast noise during battle. He hesitated, claws flexing. "It burns in the mind." Carter almost laughed. "You mean Sabaton?" "Yeah, that'll do it." A younger Vorak, his carapace still shiny with youth, hissed. "We crushed the Zentharans in 3 cycles. Their fear was proper, but you're kind," his voice faltered. "You laugh as you ram our ships. You paint your hulls with fanged beasts. You sing while dying." Kratzix raised a trembling claw. In awe. The throne room fell silent, the Overlord's 4 eyes fixed on Carter. "Your Federation calls you insane, but insanity implies chaos." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You fight with method. You choose madness. Why?" Carter stretched his legs. "You ever hear of the Blitz?" The Vorak exchanged confused glances. "Earth history," Carter continued. "Enemy bombers flattened our cities night after night. We hid in tunnels, buried our dead in rubble. And you know what we did?" He grinned. "We painted jokes on the bomb sites, played jazz in the ruins, danced in the craters." Kurdzik's claws dug into the arms of his throne. "This is not strategy." Carter stood, rushing dust off his pants. "Yeah, that's the secret sauce." The younger Vorak lunged, claws out. "You mock us?" Carter didn't flinch. "Nah, we free you." He tapped his temple. "See, your species evolved in hive clusters. Your fear response is collective. When one panics, you all do." He gestured to the screen. "But humans, we burn fear as fuel. The worse it gets, the louder we get." Kasich sagged. "The Federation was right. You are diseased." "Damn straight." Carter grinned. "And guess what? You're catching it." He pointed to a data slate on the floor. intercepted comms from the front. Vorak soldiers, their usual disciplined chatter, now laced with something new. Did you hear the humans call their dreadnought party popper? Their medics sing while stitching wounds. They thanked me for the ambush, said it was refreshing. Kurdzik's claws clenched. This cannot continue. Carter shrugged. Sure it can, just surrender. The throne room erupted in hisses. Kurdzik's raised a claw for silence. You want us to yield? Nope, Carter stretched. I want you to join us. The real fight's not here, it's out there. He nodded to the stars visible through the cracked dome. Something's eating the galaxy's will to fight, and that, he cracked his knuckles. That's our specialty, the younger Vorak spat. You want us to embrace madness? Carter's smile didn't reach his eyes. No, I want you to live, he leaned in. Your choice, die scared or live loud. Silence. Then, slowly, Kurdzik's bioluminescence flickered. Not grey gold, the color of Vorak epiphany. Bring me the link, he rasped. We will, hum. Carter tossed his empty ration wrapper aside. Attaboy. Outside, the first human. Inspired Vorak war chant echoed through the halls. Off-key, hesitant, but alive. The observation deck of the USN Atlantica stretched before Admiral Lisa Hayes like a cathedral to war. The reinforced glass gave her a perfect view of the gathering armada. Human ships of every class and configuration. Their hulls scarred from countless battles, their silhouettes jagged and asymmetrical against the starfield. Some bore names painted in crude, angry strokes. Others displayed kill counts that would make any alien tactician blanch. Every last one of them thrummed with the same restless energy that had made the galaxy call humanity insane. Behind her, the Federation observers shifted uneasily. Their multiple limbs twitched, their bioluminescent markings flickering with anxiety. A Zephyrian delegate cleared its throat sac. Admiral Hayes, this is unorthodox. The entity feeds on emotional energy. A direct assault is suicidal. Hayes didn't turn around. She tapped her comm. Lieutenant, activate the broadcast. The Atlantica's speakers crackled to life, not with the sterile tones of a military alert, but with the opening bars of Beethoven's Ode to Joy, distorted through a thrashing electric guitar riff that made the Vorak observer's exoskeleton vibrate uncomfortably. Across the fleet, every ship answered in kind, their own speakers blaring a cacophony of human music, heavy metal, punk rock, even old earth rap, all mashed together into a glorious discordant symphony. Hayes finally turned. The observers recoiled from her smile. You called us insane. You wanted to medicate us into docility. She gestured to the viewport where fighters were already launching in chaotic, beautiful formations. But insanity works. The holographic display between them flared to life, showing the cosmic entity's position at the edge of the Keswick expanse. It pulsed like a cancerous star, tendrils of darkness stretching toward inhabited systems. Standard Federation doctrine would have called for a slow, cautious approach. Hayes tapped her console. The entire human fleet surged forward at ramming speed. Admiral, the Vorak delegate's mandibles clattered. Your own reports state the entity consumes violent emotions. You're feeding it. Hayes' grin widened. Exactly. On the bridge of the USN Defiance, Captain Blake watched his tactical display with a predator's focus. His cybernetic eye zoomed in on the entity's swirling core. Singh, you got that package ready? Lieutenant Mara Singh didn't look up from her console. Her fingers danced across holographic controls. Neural disruptor, armed captain, just like the doc theorized. She smirked. Gonna give that thing the mother of all headaches. Blake keyed the fleet-wide channel. All ships. This is Defiance Actual. Remember the playbook? We're not here to destroy it. We're here to give it indigestion. A chorus of whoops and laughter echoed back through the comms. The entity reacted as they closed in. Dark tendrils lashed out, but human pilots trained in maneuvers no sane species would attempt dodged with reckless grace. Jake, Reaper Morrison's fighter, spun through a corkscrew roll, his cockpit speakers blasting thrash metal at full volume. "You hear that, ugly? That is your last meal singing." Hayes watched the battle unfold from the Atlantica's command chair. The Federation observers had stopped protesting. They stood frozen, their many eyes wide as the human fleet did the impossible. They laughed while charging annihilation. A Zephyrian aide whispered, "They're enjoying this. Damn right we are." Hayes didn't bother to lower her voice. "You spent centuries wondering why human brains light up during conflict." On the view screen, the first wave of fighters reached the entity's event horizon. Their cockpits flared with light as neural disruptors activated. "It is because we're wired to fight monsters, even the ones made of nightmares." The entity recoiled. For the first time in recorded history, something in the universe screamed in human terror. The disruptors weren't firing physical projectiles. They were broadcasting raw, unfiltered human neural patterns. Every fear, every rage, every stubborn refusal to yield that had ever flashed through a human mind during battle. The cosmic equivalent of force, feeding a black hole a live grenade. Morrison's fighter streaked past the Atlantica's bow, his disruptor trailing sparks. "Hey, Doc." His voice crackled across every open channel. "Tell the Federation, depression's cured." Then he turned his ship and dove straight into the entity's heart. The explosion lit up the Keswick expanse like a newborn star. For 3 glorious seconds, the darkness burned gold. When it faded, the entity was gone. In its place floated hundreds of human ships, battered, scorched, but intact. The comms erupted in cheers. Hayes leaned back in her chair. The Federation observers stared at her, their various appendages trembling. She took a long sip of coffee. "Any other psychological disorders you'd like us to treat?" The void swallowed light, sound, and hope, Jake. Reaper Morrison's fighter streaked through the abyss, his HUD painting the darkness in jagged red vectors. Behind him, the human fleet burned toward the swirling mass of the entity, a cosmic cancer that fed on despair. Its whispers slithered through comms, oily and cold. "You will fail." Jake grinned, thumbing the safety off his warhead. "Yeah. Heard that before." The entity pulsed, tendrils of shadow lashing out. A Vorak cruiser, one of the few that had joined the humans, disintegrated as the darkness touched it. Screams echoed across the open channel before cutting to static. "Reaper, you seeing this?" Lieutenant Mara Singh's voice crackled from the Defiance. Seeing it, not believing it. Jake banked hard, avoiding a whip of black energy. His fighter's engines screamed in protest. This thing eats sadness. No wonder it is starving. On the Atlantica's bridge, Admiral Hayes watched the tactical display. Human ships weaved through the void, their hulls vibrating with the distorted ode to joy blasting across all frequencies. The entity recoiled at the noise, its form rippling like disturbed water. "Direct hit on Sector Faye," someone shouted. Hayes didn't flinch. "All units, Pattern Delta, hit it where it hurts." Jake's squadron, the Hell's Choir, dove as one. Their fighters were patchwork monsters welded together from salvaged Vorak tech and human ingenuity. One pilot, a kid from Mars named Rico, painted his cockpit with neon pink flames. "Hey Reaper," Rico said. Voice tight, "If we die, we don't." Jake cut in. "But if we do, make it loud." The entity's core loomed ahead, a gaping maw of nothingness. Jake's instruments fizzed. Needles spinning wildly, the whispers grew louder. "Your species is a mistake. You are broken. You will be..." Jake flipped a switch. His cockpit speakers roared to life, drowning the entity in a blast of thrash metal. The darkness shrieked. "That is right, ugly," Jake muttered. "Humans invented noise pollution." Across the battlefield, the human fleet opened fire. Not with disciplined volleys, but with chaos. Every ship firing at will, warheads crisscrossing in impossible patterns. The entity writhed, its form destabilizing. "Admiral," a Zephyrian observer cried, "Your tactics, they make no sense." Hayes smirked. "Exactly." Jake's targeting computer finally locked on. The warhead hummed, ready. He glanced at the photo taped to his console, his kid's sister grinning with missing teeth. "Hey Doc," he said, patching through to Dr. Carter's last known frequency. "Tell the Federation depression's cured." He punched the throttle. The entity surged forward, tendrils snapping at his fighter. Jake Barrel rolled, laughing as Rico whooped over comms. "Reaper, you crazy son of a..." The warhead detonated, white light swallowed the void. The entity's scream shattered every comm channel, every earpiece, every bone in Jake's body. For a heartbeat, the darkness fractured, human neural patterns, chaotic, brilliant, alive, overloading its core. Then silence. On the Atlantica's bridge, the tactical screens flickered. The entity was gone. In its place, swirling motes of light drifted like embers. Haze exhaled. Well, that worked. Mara's voice was hoarse. "Reaper." Static then, impossibly, a cough. "Ugh, that sucked." Laughter erupted across the fleet, human, Vorak, even a few bewildered Zephyrians. The ode to joy started up again. This time, without distortion. Jake's fighter tumbled through the void, half its hull gone, but his vitals blinked steady on the Defiance's screens. He groaned, reaching for the controls. "All right, who is buying drinks?" The entity had fed on despair. Humanity had answered with joy, and the universe would never be the same. The sun crept over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. Dr. Elias Carter leaned against the railing of his balcony, steam curling from the mug of coffee in his hands. Earth smelled like rain and wet concrete like home. His communicator buzzed on the table behind him, the holographic display flickering to life with an incoming transmission. He didn't need to look to know who it was. "Director Vexlora," he said without turning. "You're calling early, or late depends on your sleep schedule, I guess." The Zephyrian's 4 eyes blinked in staggered succession, her bioluminescent skin pulsing an uneasy blue-green. "The Institute's findings have been revised," she said, her voice carrying the faintest tremor. "The Council has requested an emergency session to discuss adjustments to Federation policy." Elias took a slow sip of coffee. "Let me guess, they want to apologize." Vexlora's tentacles twitched. "They want to understand. The entity's defeat. Your species' neural patterns disrupted its core in ways we never anticipated. Our models suggested despair was an inevitability, a universal constant. But humanity," she trailed off, as if the words physically pained her. Elias smirked. "We enjoyed it? Your brains lit up during the battle," Vexlora snapped, her colors flaring. "Not with fear, not with rage, with joy. Do you comprehend how unnatural that is?" He shrugged. "We've been telling you that for centuries." The hologram flickered as Vexlora adjusted something off. Screen, a document materialized in the air beside her. Thick, official, stamped with the Galactic Federation's seal. The title read, "Reassessment of Human Psychological Classification, Collective Insanity Reclassified as Adaptive Resilience." Elias snorted. "That's the most bureaucratic way of saying we were wrong I've ever seen." Vexlora ignored him. "The Vorak have surrendered. The Arcturans are requesting human military advisors. Even the Ceruleans, a species that hasn't left their homeworld in 3 millennia, are asking for cultural exchange programs." She hesitated. "They want to learn how to laugh." Elias set his mug down, and the entity, gone, scattered into cosmic background radiation. Preliminary scans suggest it won't reform for at least 10,000 years. Her voice dropped. "Your pilot, Morrison, his neural signature was the last thing it registered before detonation. Our telepaths described it as confused." Elias grinned. "Good." Vexlora's bioluminescence dimmed. "We've spent eons fearing the dark. But you charged into it. You sang at it." "Yeah? Well," Elias stretched, rolling his shoulders. "Turns out the universe just needed a little perspective." A chime sounded from Vexlora's end. She glanced off, screen, then back at him. The council is waiting. They've requested your presence as a consultant. Elias raised an eyebrow. Consultant, last week you wanted to drug us all. Vexlora's colors shifted, reluctant, almost sheepish. We've reconsidered. He laughed, shaking his head. Tell them he'll think about it after breakfast. The transmission cut out. Elias picked up the report, thumbing through the pages, graphs, charts, endless analysis of human brain chemistry under stress. He paused at the final line. Conclusion. Humanity's psychological profile is not a disorder. It is a solution. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the report into the trash bin. It landed with a satisfying thump outside. The sun climbed higher, burning away the last of the night's shadows. Somewhere in the city below, a car honked. Someone shouted, a dog bark. Life loud, messy, alive. Elias took another sip of coffee. Told you so.